everyone. Thank you again for attending the Speakers Bureau. It has been quite an adventure and trip for me to be the host here for St. Lucie County Public Schools Speakers Bureau. And we welcome you again today. We are so thankful you've been able to tune in and to hear a life story. A story that will encourage you, inspire you, and motivate you to be the best that you can be. So today, I have a very special guest here on the Speakers Bureau. His name is Dr. Samuel Gaines, and he is a former school board member. He's also someone that I believe, I know he grew up here. I don't know if he was born here or not, but we're going to find out his story. Dr. Gaines, thank you so much. I mean, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for being here. I really do. And just so that we make things very clear to the community here, this is my political godfather. That's what I call him, because he stood with me when I first ran and continues every 4 years, and I'm so grateful for him. He truly is like a dad to me. I don't have any other dad, so he's the one and only. So, Dr. Gaines, thank you so much for attending the Speakers Bureau.
You're welcome.
And we asked you to come. I forgot to tell it this part, because you're out there right now saying, well, isn't his name on a school building? Yes, it is. He is the one and only board member who has had the privilege and the opportunity to have his name on a school building. And Samuel Gaines is doing great. That school is doing phenomenal work under Keith Davis administration. So, Dr. Gaines, please start out by telling us a little bit about who you are as a kid and as a teen and growing up into adulthood, that part of your story.
Well, I'm going to start off by reading something that I always start. You let me ask this.
Yes, sir.
Is that if the Lord needs somebody, send me. I'll go. And that seemed to be the private motto of Samuel S. Gaines. I'll go. In certain towns and certain generations, there's always someone chosen by destiny by God. And I guess for some reason, it seemed as if I was chosen to be that person here in Fort Pierce in St. Lucie County. I was born here, and right after I was born in January, and 6 months after I was born, my mother took down with infantile paralysis, polio. I never knew her to walk. She was always in a wheelchair. So therefore, my grandfather and my grandmother had to be the ones who raised me, because mother was always in the chair. But I guess it was because it was a strong guidance by my grandparents that I was able to do what I've done and make it, because they always said, do for others. Don't ever look down on it, but do for others. And I guess that became a motto that I did not even know that I had adopted. But I like to always say, if God had not been in it, I probably would not have made it to where I've made it this far, not realizing that I was going to do half of what I ended up doing. But you asked me about how my life started there on 7th Street. People say, how was it on 7th Street? I said, it was like most places during that time in 1938, 1940. There were certain things you can do and certain things you couldn't do. I remember the park that was in front of us that is still there. It's not a park anymore. It's the parking lot for the people that works in Benton's. Benton's, whatever that thing for Benton's on US 1. But that was a park where picnics were held. On the north side of it, across the canal, that was all kind of playground equipment that we as kids growing up on that block, we could not go over there.
Oh my.
We could not go over there.
I thought you were going to say it was the park we played in.
No, we couldn't play in that park. We could not play in that park.
Why is that? Tell us about that
Because
time.
it was during the times. During the time, this is between 30 and 40, 40 and 50. Things were rough. We knew that things were. People come back. How was it during Fort Pierce? I said it was segregated. So therefore, we learned to live with that. Now, all of us who lived on 8th Street, 7th Street seemed like it went from 7th to 8th Street because 8th Street was beginning on 8th Street, somewhere down by Orange Avenue, is where the first school was given, a building that was given for black kids to go to school. It was something like a used tin shed that they gave them.
And it was the first school.
First one.
What year roundabout that was?
I can go back.
Just roundabout.
It was
Give me an estimate.
around 1919. It was before 19. It was before 1920. It was before then.
Okay.
I got all the numbers. I got all the figures
Okay.
and things. But anyhow, the people, St. Paul African Methodist Church, it seems like it was the catalyst because that church had began down in what they call Woodbine. And Woodbine was an area where we lived. We was not up on the waterfront, but because Fort Pierce, now this place was a fort.
Okay.
There were forts all along the Indian River, fighting the Indians.
Well,
So there was a fort here. The person that was over the fort was Pierce, the brother to President Pierce.
okay.
That was the United States president.
Okay.
That was his brother. So when they decided to name the city, it became Fort Pierce.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And therefore, that's the history of that. But we, as a minority, or black, whatever you want to say, we were limited. It was limited to what we could do. So we had to make our own. So between 7th Street and 8th Street, that was where most of us lived. We found our way of taking a board, putting it on a barrel, and having a seesaw, putting the rope in the rope, and having us a swing. So we made our own way. That's how we
Building your own houses.
But that's how we came up. But really, my mother being an invalid and my grandmother having to do what she had to do for me. My grandfather was a minister, plus he had the funeral home, because he opened that in 1932, so I grew up there at the funeral home. That's where we lived, right on 7th Street. We were one of the first large buildings on 7th Street, which I understand now they want to make 7th Street the western boundary of the downtown. But I grew up there between 7th
So
and 8th Street.
many people in the community know about your funeral home. It is the premier funeral home
We're the oldest.
for the black community.
1932.
You lived there. Now is the building different? It's the same
building
building.
the building set on the north side of where it sits now.
Okay.
The one I grew up in.
Okay.
Well, actually, that's the one I grew up in. Now, when I came back, I had no intentions of going into funeral business. I was going to do biological research after I finished out. Didn't think I was going to school, but I ended up finishing Lincoln Park and then went on to Talladega College. And I got a scholarship to go to Talladega, and when I graduated from Talladega, I was going to do biological research because I was crazy about researching in the biology field. That was my major, biology. And I came home after graduating, and I told I'm going on to Indiana to this school. So my grandfather didn't say too much, but he said, well, I was kind of hoping you would kind of come in and take this over. I said, take what, this funeral home on? No, this funeral home. But I thought about it. And something hit me and said, now, if he has come this far, you're going to allow it to go down because you don't want to take it. So I make bargain if I tell you what I'm going to do. I won't go to research school. I'm going to go to New York. I'm going to Montreal school so I can learn about what I need to do in case I have to know what to do about this. But I got to find a school. He said, well, there's one in New York and one in, he said, I've got a niece living in Tampa and one in New York. I said, well, now, the one in Tampa, I know her, she doesn't like to cook. I said, the one in New York, Hazel, she likes to cook. I'm going to New York.
That is so funny because last night I invited my family to come over because we're all so busy that they never come over, and we live like 9 doors away from them.
Okay.
So I said, you know what? I know how to get my people over here.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and cook a meal.
Okay.
And sure enough, everything else had to move out the
Okay.
way to come to Nana's house to have that meal. So, yeah.
So I went to New York
Okay.
to Montreal School.
Okay.
Hazel, I called Hazel. Yes, come on. She made room. She had a little room up front. It was more like a sitting room. She made room. That was my room. That became my room. In the daytime, it was a sitting, and at nighttime, pull the sofa out. That was the bed.
What was different about living in New York versus how you grew up? Was there any difference when
No,
it
I
came
wasn't used to nothing like New York. They had these
Yeah.
subways and all this
Yeah,
thing,
but I
and
mean,
all this peoples and all
yes,
this.
but I mean in regards to segregation, in regards to the time that.
Well,
our
it was
people-
altogether different.
Okay.
Because see, things that I could not do at home or down in Florida, I found that it was okay. I could do it in New York. Places that I could not go into, places that I could not go to that front door, I might not like everybody else. You're riding the subways, everybody's on the subway going down, everybody's just alike. So I found they were all alike. It was the same thing. So that was an opening. That was an opening. But I think, but it helped by me being, I had gone to Talladega College. In Talladega, it's a black school that was there in Talladega, Alabama, but it was sitting on it was something like, it wasn't sitting on the edge, but we had white also professors and teachers. So therefore I got used to dealing with them like that. And I guess by going to Talladega, it prepared me for life after school. So Talladega was I guess I'll give Talladega College credit for making that the footstool of where I went after that, because they instilled in me something that drove me to want to do something and do better. But my grandfather,
I was just thinking about
But my
your
grandfather-
grandfather.
I am saying, I'm not going to be here forever.
Yeah.
I said, well, know what's going to happen? He said, well, I don't know what's going to happen. I said, well, I'm going to school, so at least I'll know how to handle it.
Now, how did and maybe you don't know, a lot of our African American people don't really know our history because of what we went through to even get over here. So I don't know if you know or not, hopefully you do. How did your grandfather start the funeral business?
Family.
Somebody else had
In
it?
fact, I'm doing history on the family. Now, nobody had it.
Okay, so he started.
I'm doing history on the family now, the Stone family. It seems like I'm the oldest of the off-branches out. They want me to tell them everything. But no, the brothers, they were born up in Melbourne. I'm doing John Stone and Mary Stone and all the children. Make a long story short, the first boy was Edward, that opened up in Tampa in 1916.
1916.
Then his brother Richard opened up in Cocoa in 1923.
Oh.
My grandfather was running on the Florida East Coast train from Jacksonville down to Key West. In 27, when the storm tore up the tracks and it couldn't go, and he also would stop over in Fort Pierce. He became a minister, and he organized the United Methodist Church, which was St. John United Methodist Church on Douglas Court. That was his church. So they started pastoring there. But you say, so therefore when the railroad shut down, he knew people in Fort Pierce. So he came to Fort Pierce. He moved from Jacksonville down to Fort Pierce, brought my grandmother down to Fort Pierce.
Okay.
And therefore he started doing writing insurance.
Insurance, okay.
And he went from Fort Pierce all the way down, writing insurance and meeting all these people. So in 1932, he decided that he would go into the business also. Now, his two brothers had gone and got licensed to be a licensed funeral director, embalmer. But he only wanted to be a funeral director, so he never got the embalming license. So you always had to have somebody there as a licensed embalmer. But he opened up in 1932. I have physical records that I can put my hand on right now from January 1932 up until today.
Wow. And that is something that, of course, they want you to give them the history.
Yeah, something.
We need to pass it on so that others can see that it's possible, even in the midst of what your grandparents had to go through and what you went through in the way of segregation and discrimination and all of that. You were able to make it through that. And that's such a rich history for us all. It's our history. It's America's history to know where America came from and where we're at now. So tell me, right now, what kind of changes have you seen from where you were at in the segregated, discriminated sector? What do you see now is going on, and how can we improve it?
It has greatly improved because what we came through is no longer the practice of what we find. Now, if you dig deep, there's still some segments down deep in people. But because of the times we live in, because of what we go through now, it has brought us together, more together than, but you always got to look out because there are those who still want to hold on, regardless of how old we get and how young we get, they want to hold on to that old spirit. But it has changed. Fort Pierce has changed. It now is a city for all of us.
And many people gave their lives for this change. It didn't just come. People actually sacrificed great things so that we can have this change.
But just like we were saying earlier, Lincoln Park Academy, in around 1906, they petitioned for a school. There was a little tin shed they used to store stuff in down on 8th Street near Orange Avenue. They gave them that as a school. The next year they built them a little shed, something next to it. But the people in Fort Pierce stayed on and said, we want something more than that. So they told them, you go buy a lot. If you buy a lot, we'll put you a school on that lot. Nobody understands. I don't know the name of the street, which is Means Court now, but the land was brought there, and the 2-story building that used to sit on there was the house that was the building they built for the school. They say we want it so we can store our wagons and our other stuff there during the summer times. But that was where Lincoln Park started.
And I heard you say the people rose up and demanded more.
Most of the meetings always held at St. Paul Amy Church. Because by that time they had moved from, well, they got burnt down in Woodbine. Because it seemed like they said some black man had given an obscene letter, note to a white lady at the post office.
Oh boy.
So that night the church was burnt down in Woodbine.
Wow.
Woodbine would be now, that church sat down between 6th and 5th Street, somewhere, that empty property there going down Delaware Avenue. That is the description of the property that what we're calling now Woodbine, right down in the center of Fort Pierce. But then after that, and so later on, the lady bought them property and gave them the property on 8th Street and Avenue B. And they stayed there. That's the oldest church
in Fort Pierce.
And the building that...
So before that, there was no church building, or, I'm not church building, school building. How did the people get educated?
Educated. They didn't educate us.
I mean, you didn't have a building.
Whatever it was,
where
you did it at home. Your parents educated you.
That was it. That was the limitation.
But see, once they got to school, and Lincoln Park became something they that was the catalyst to get to school. But look where we are today.
Yeah, we've come a long
Because
way.
on that same lot, eventually they petitioned and got more property, and that after they moved, because I went to school in the 2-story building, 4th to 5th grade. the 6th grade, I was at the end of, they had gotten the petition where Lincoln Park was sitting before it moved. The O'Means Court, the end. That was where I went to the 6th grade. Over there in that building.
Wow.
And then we went down to Lincoln Theater. We marched down to Lincoln Theater and had graduation with our little white suits on. Came back. And then we went on to the other part of the building. But when Lincoln Park, where it is now, well, that was time when we moved out there.
Dr. Gaines, what are you most thankful for?
I don't know. I guess before you started, you heard somebody say something about my tenure on the school board.
And which was how many years?
34.
34 years.
That came because, see, now, that was June 1972. Dr. C.C. Benton always was very interested in the upkeep and what was going on. So
Who is Dr.
He was the medical doctor.
Yes,
Dr.
the
Benton.
medical
He
doctor.
was the medical doctor down there. We had Dr. Benton, who was a medical doctor, Rhodes, who was a dentist. Everything was on A Street, barber shops and everything. But anyhow, he came up, we got a new car. And he came up as if he wanted to look at the car. So we sat out in the car. So then he started, Sam, he said, you know, there's going to be an opening on the school board, and I would like to put your name. I said, no. My mama told me, don't ever think that it's going to be politics. No, I can't do that. And he just stayed there, and just nagged me. And I got tired of him nagging. I said, Doc, do whatever you want to do. Terminate me, and I figured it wasn't going to have to come up no how. To my surprise, about a week and a half later, I got a call in the middle of the week telling me that that Friday they were going to announce that I was receiving the nomination to be on the school board. I said, who, me?
So, of course, you were the first black individual to serve on the school board. You're it. And then I'm second.
That was June 1972, and that was Governor Reuben Askew that appointed me.
Wow. Incredible.
And I stayed there for 34 years. And after that, I was ready. The person that's sitting in that, my seat is still sitting there. But I think I was kind of ready, but they told me they needed me to come back over. Something they was working on that I had to sign off on it. So my wife and I went over there, and I'm sitting there that night, and I heard them passing this and waving this. I said, now, wait a minute. They're waving something. So I said, now, may I ask y'all something? I said, that school we've got going up out there now, I hope now y'all not figuring to connect me up to that school. Mr. Gaines, just please, we be doing this. So they recommended then that the name be Samuel S. Gaines Academy. I said, oh, no. Because everybody's name is on there, they're dead.
Oh yeah, you're the first one alive, right? To get your name on. Were you the first one alive to get your name on the building?
C.A. Moore is dead. Francis K. Smith is dead. I said, all of them are dead, and I'm not
you're not ready to go.
But we wanted to put it there before something happens to you. I said, all right. So therefore, that's how that happened.
Wow. And Mr. Davis is doing a great job.
Yeah.
We're so proud of him over there. Can you name a person who made a huge difference in your life outside of your grandparents? Because we know that, thank God for grandparents, what they were willing to do, and what we have so many grandparents out there today are willing to do because the parent cannot care for the child. But somebody, a teacher, or, especially if you know a teacher, but anyone who made a tremendous impact on your life?
Well, people knew my grandfather and knew that my mother had taken down with polio, so everybody knew me. But if I had to say somebody, I think in the school system, it is Eva Pierce, who was our English teacher. She had more impact because I remember, I don't know why, it was time to elect officers for the yearbook, and so she had us all sitting there. And she said, it's time for y'all to get together. This is your senior year, and I elect you officers for a yearbook. And otherwise, she said Sam Gaines would be the treasurer. Now she said, y'all elect who you want, but on the web, Sam Gaines to be treasurer. So I guess, you know what? And from that time, everything I've been a part of growing up, I was the treasurer.
Okay.
I guess everybody trusted me to keep the money. I've been the treasurer for more organizations than I can even. So within the educational system, I think she, as my English instructor, had more of an input with me. Now, Mrs. Rhodes, who was Dr. Rhodes, the dentist's wife, was my math teacher, and therefore I became close to her in later years. And but those two individuals, I think, I listened. You know, they said, they made comments that I heard and I listened to, and I think they stuck with me. I'd give them the credit because that was their means go.
How did you push through the worst times? And even today, you know, but I think about the history you just shared. I'm glad I was not born during the time of segregation and during the time of what our forefathers went through with racism and so forth. I'm glad. I was thanking God this morning, saying, Lord, I'm glad I'm living in this time zone. How did you press through? And people go through so much now today. Share with us some nugget of how to press through your worst times.
I was taught looking forward. I was taught to make sure it looked like you have blinders on. Focus your eyes on where you want to go and keep your eyes on that. And don't let anything attract you to just, and for some reason, when I made my mind up that I'm going to do something just like going to school. I had not planned to go to school just to satisfy my grandfather, but when I got back here, he had taken his first illness, so therefore I had to take over. And from that point on, I kept on until the whole thing was in my lap.
I like that, the blinders.
But I just, I don't live. I can see people and hear people, but they don't go in because I'm focused.
That's
and
good advice.
I try to get my kids, don't listen to everything. Focus what you want to do in life. Keep your eyes where you want to go and go that way.
Don't let anybody distract you. Just don't even let it go in your ears. Just stay focused. That's wonderful advice. Now you are married. We're almost out of time. But your wife also has been a very long time school member.
We married August, we married August the 4th in 1962.
How many years? How many years is that?
I said, woman, you know, I've been putting up with you for 61 years. She said, wait a minute. You said, what? You've been putting up with me. She said, what do you think I've been doing for these 61? She said, I put up with you.
I got to see if I can get her on the Speakers Bureau. I know that might be a challenge.
Our mind, you know, I guess age is taking its time, it's taking its toll, and if we get, I'll remember something today and tomorrow. I can't remember, but I'm thankful.
And she was a math teacher. Oh boy, I have a story about her, but we've run out of time.
Yeah,
we've got like 20 seconds left of the program, and it has.
She made her empire. That man.
Oh, I know.
Yes.
With my daughter.
Oh, your daughter.
Oh, I have a story with my daughter. Dr. Gaines, thank you so much for coming on. And hopefully we could do this again because there's so much to talk about. For the community's sake, you know, you have a couple of children.
Yeah, two here.
One of them. Go ahead.
Andre's in Orlando. He's a retired Air Force. He's retired from air traffic control. Now he's getting retired from the fire department. Okay. So now his first grandchild is coming. So therefore he's planning to go to send a wherever they're going to go.
You're going to have to come back.
But
time is already over. It's time for the Speakers Bureau to end this session. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming on. We appreciate you, and hopefully you appreciate us.